Hi, Mr. Wright here, and welcome to this film in which I'll walk through 8 really quite tough IGCSE questions on simultaneous equations. Now, these are quite tough because they always involve one equation being quadratic. But on the other hand, they're quite straightforward because all one does is exactly the same in each question. What you do is you use one of the equations to get an expression for x or for y, and you substitute that into the second equation. So here are 8 questions, all of which I've solved in the same way. See if you can solve them using my method, get into a rhythm, practice, practice, practice until you can't get them wrong, and then surely that top grade will be yours. Right, let's get on with the maths. Question 1. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this expression for y here and substitute that into the second equation. So the equation is going to be x squared plus now y squared is 7 minus 2x multiplied by 7 minus 2x, and that equals 34. Right, let's multiply out those two brackets. 7 times 7 is 49. That's going to be minus 14x, and I'm going to have another minus 14x from here. Gives me minus 28x plus 4x squared from there. Equals 34. Tidy up the left-hand side. 5x squared minus 28x plus 49 equals 34. Now let's set that equal to 0 by subtracting 34 from both sides. Okay, there's a quadratic equation. Now, can I factorise that? Well, it's worth a try because I've got 5x squared, so that can only be 5x and x, and I've got 15 here, so possibly 5 3's. If I combine the 5 with the 5x, then that's 25, and 3 would make 28, and they're both negative. So my solutions to this equation are that either x equals 5 or x equals 3/5. Now, what about y? Well, of course, I've got this equation here, haven't I? Y is 7 minus 2x. So if x is 5, then y is 7 minus 2 of those, 10, so that's minus 3. Or if x is 3/5, then y is 7 minus 6/5, which is 5 and 4/5. So my two solutions are that x is 5 and y is minus 3, or x is 3/5 and y is 5 and 4/5. And that's question 1. Question 2. Right, in the second equation here, I've got an expression for x. So I'm simply going to substitute that into the first equation. So I'm going to have 2 multiplied by x squared. So that's going to be 2 multiplied by 3y minus 1 multiplied by 3y minus 1. And now I'm going to copy down the rest of that top equation. Right, let's expand those brackets here. 3y times 3y, 9y squared. I get minus 3y minus another 3y, minus 6y, minus 1 times minus 1 is plus 1. Copy down the rest of this equation. Now let's multiply out this bracket. So I'm going to have 18y squared minus 12y plus 2 plus 3y squared equals 11. Let's tidy up the left-hand side. 21y squared minus 12y plus 2 equals 11. Subtract 11 from both sides to set it equal to 0. 21y squared minus 12y minus 9 equals 0. Right, I have to factorise this. Well, first of all, let's pull out a 3. Gives me 3 lots of 7y squared plus 4y minus 3 equals 0. Now, can I factorise this any further, or do I have to resort to using the formula? I reckon 7y and y. And I've got to multiply to minus 3, haven't I? So I'm looking at 3 and 1, really. If I combine the 1 with the 7 and the 3 with the y, and then I would want to have minus 7y's and plus 3y's to give me minus 4y's. So that's that factorised. Though, of course, you could have used the formula. And that tells me that y is either minus 3/7 or 1. Now, how am I going to find x? Well, I know that x is 3 times y minus 1 from up here. So if y is minus 3/7, then x is 3 times that, so minus 9/7 minus 1. Of course, you can use your calculator as much as you'd like to. That gives me minus 16/7. Or if y is 1, then x is 3 times 1 minus 1, which gives me x is 2. So my two solutions are that x is minus 16/7 and y is minus 3/7, or that x is 2 and y is 1. And that's the second question sorted. Question 3. Now in my first equation here, I've got an expression for y, so I'm going to substitute that into my second equation instead of y. So I'm going to have x squared plus, instead of y squared, I'm going to write 3 minus 2x multiplied by 3 minus 2x, and that's going to equal 18. So copy down this x squared, now I'm going to multiply out my brackets here. 3 times 3 is 9. Right, I've got minus 6x, and minus another 6x gives me minus 12x. And then I've got minus 2x multiplied by minus 2x gives me plus 4x squared. And that equals 18. Tidy up the left-hand side. 5x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals 18. Okay, let's set this equal to 0. Let's take 18 off both sides. 5x squared minus 12x minus 9 equals 0. Now I need to factorise that. I can't find a common factor, but I'm optimistic I'll be able to factorise it. If I can't, of course, I could always use the formula. Let's have a look at this. So I've also got 5x and x. I need to multiply to 9. I know that. So I'm thinking about 3 and 3. Well, if I were to do 3 and 3, then this will give me 15x, won't it? So if I had minus 15x and then plus, that would give me plus 3x. So that's going to work. Very good. So my solutions for x are going to be minus 3/5 or 3. Okay. Now, how am I going to find y? Well, I've got this equation up here for y. y is 3 minus 2x, isn't it? 3 minus 2x's. So y is going to be 3 minus 2 times minus 3/5, which is 3, plus 6/5, which is 4 and a fifth. Or, if x is 3, then y is going to be 3 minus 2/3, which is 3 minus 6, which is minus 3. So my two solutions here are going to be that x is 3/5 and y is 4 and a fifth, or that x is 3 and y is minus 3. And that is question 3 done. Question 4. Now my second equation gives me an expression for y here. So I'm going to substitute that into my first equation. So the first equation is going to be 3x squared plus y squared. So that's going to be plus 2x minus 3 multiplied by 2x minus 3. And I've got minus x times y. So that's going to be x times 2x minus 3. And that equals 5. So now I'm going to solve this equation with any luck without messing it up. So I've got to expand these two brackets. So that's going to give me 4x squared. Now minus 6x is minus another 6x is minus 12x. And then minus 3 times minus 3 is plus 9. Minus outside this bracket, 2x squared plus 3x equals 5. Tidy up the left-hand side. 7x squared minus 2x squared, 5x squared, minus 12x plus 3x minus 9x. And then I've got plus 9 there, and that equals 5. Subtract 5 from both sides. 5x squared minus 9x plus 4 equals 0. Right, now I need to factorise that. I can't see a common factor. I could use a formula to solve this, but I'm going to try and factorise it because I've got 5x squared, so that's really got to be a 5x and an x. Now I've got a 4 there, so it could be 1 and 4, or it could be 2 and 2. If I try 2 and 2, I know they're both negative because then they multiply to a positive, but add to a negative. Now is that going to work? That gives me minus 2x's and minus
10 x's. Well, that doesn't work, so that's no use. So cross out those. Let's try 1 and 4, shall we? Let's try 1 here. Let's try 4 there and 1 there. Let's have a look. Does that work? Minus 4x and then minus 5x gives me minus 9x. So yes, that works. So my factorised version is 5x minus 4 multiplied by x minus 1 equals 0. So x will be 4/5 or 1. Now, what about y? Well, y is 2x minus 3, according to this equation here. So if x is 4/5, then y will be 8/5 minus 3. Well, that is minus 7/5. Or if x is 1, then y is 2 times 1 minus 3, which is minus 1. So my two solutions are that x is 4/5 and y is minus 7/5, or that x is 1 and y is minus 1. And there is question 4 done.
Okay, you're halfway through. Well done. 4 questions down, 4 to go. Time for a break, perhaps. Maybe time to hit like. Or leave me a comment. Tell me how you're getting on. Tell me how you're finding these questions. And let me know what you're aiming for in your IGCSE, and I'll point you at some specific films to help you out. Okay, that was your break. Time for 4 more questions.
Question 5. Now in question 5, I've got an equation, the second equation here. I'm going to rearrange that equation to give me an expression for x, because if I add 2y to both sides, then this equation tells me that x is equal to 1 plus 2y. And now I'm going to substitute this expression for x into my top equation. So I've got 3 times x times y. So I'm going to write 3y multiplied by x, but I'm not going to write x. I'm going to write 1 plus 2y minus y squared equals 8. Now I've got an equation here with y's in it, which I can solve. I've multiplied out that top bracket, minus a y squared equals 8. Tidy up the left-hand side, 5y squared plus 3y equals 8. Now let's set this equal to 0, because it's a quadratic. Minusing 8 from both sides. Now I'm looking to factorise, or at least to solve that equation there. I can't pull out a common factor. I could use a formula. I'm going to try factorising first, because I've got 5y squareds, which more or less has to be that. I've got 8 here. It's a minus 8, so plus and minus, but I've got to have a 3 there. So if I put an 8 here and a 1 there, then that's going to give me minus 8, as long as one of them, and look at this. There we go, that gives me plus 8y and minus 5y, which gives me the plus 3y. So that's factorised correctly. So my solutions are that y equals minus 8 over 5 or 1. Okay, now what about x? Well, x is equal to 1 plus twice y. So if y is equal to minus 8/5, then x is equal to 1 minus 16/5, which is minus 11/5. You could use a calculator for that. Or if y is 1, then x is equal to 1 plus 2, which is 3. So I've got two solutions. I've got x is minus 11/5 and y is minus 8/5. Or I've got x is 3 and y is 1. Okay. Question 6. Right, so this bottom equation here tells me that y is equal to minus 3 minus 2x, and that's what I'm going to substitute in to the top equation instead of y. So my top equation is 2 times y squared, so that's going to be 2 times minus 3 minus 2x times minus 3 minus 2x plus x squared equals minus 6x plus 42. Right, let's sort out this left-hand side. 2, open a large bracket and expand these two brackets here. Minus 3 times minus 3 is 9. And I'm going to have plus 6x there, and another plus 6x, gives me plus 12x. And minus 2x times minus 2x is plus 4x squared. Copy down the plus x squared, copy down the minus 6x plus 42. Multiply out this bracket, 18 plus 24x plus 8x squared. Copy down the x squared, copy down the minus 6x, copy down the plus 42. Don't do too many things at once, and then you'll be sure to get it right. 9x squared, I'm tidying up the left-hand side now, plus 24x plus 18 equals minus 6x plus 42. Right, I'm going to add 6x to both sides. That's going to give me 9x squared plus 30x. And I'm going to minus 42 from both sides as well, which gives me 18 minus 42 is minus 24, and that equals 0. Right, factorising. Well, I can pull out a 3. So I'll pull out this common factor first. Okay, and now I'm left with trying to factorise the bracket or using the formula. Well, I'm going to try and factorise the bracket because I've got 3x squared. So I'm going to try 3x and x there. Now I multiply to minus 8, so it could be looking at 4 and 2 here. And if I put a 4 here, then that gives me 12x, and there's 2 there. That gives me 2x, and 12 and 2 I can combine to make 10. Well, plus 12 minus 2. So my two solutions for x are that x equals 2/3 or minus 4. So what about y? Well, y is equal to minus 3 minus 2x, according to this equation here. So if x is 2/3, then y is equal to minus 3 minus 4/3, which is minus 4 1/3. Or if x is minus 4, then y is equal to minus 3 plus 8, which is 5. So my two solutions are that x is 2/3 and y is minus 4 1/3, or that x is minus 4 and y is equal to 5. Okay, that is question 6 done. Question 7. Okay, now I'm going to use this top equation here to give me an expression for x. X is going to be 3 plus 2y. And I'm going to substitute that expression into the second equation. So instead of x squared, I'm going to have 3 plus 2y multiplied by 3 plus 2y. Then I've got minus y squared plus 2 lots of x, so that's 2 lots of 3 plus 2y equals 10. Right, let's solve this equation. Let's expand this bracket here. 3 times 3 is 9. 6 y's plus another 6 y's is 12y plus 4y squared. Copy down the rest. Minus y squared. Let's multiply this bracket. 2 3's is 6 plus 4y equals 10. Right. Tidy up the left-hand side. I've got 3y squareds there. What about the y's? I've got 12 plus another 4 gives me plus 16y. I've got a 9 plus a 6 gives me plus 15, and that equals 10. Set this equal to 0 before I look to solve it by factorising or using the formula probably. Let's have a look. Plus 5 equals 0. I've subtracted 10 from both sides. I'm going to try and factorise because I've got 3y squared, so I know it's got to be 3 and y there. It's all pluses, so that makes life easier. And it's 16y, and I've got to multiply to 5. Look at that. I'm going to put the 5 here because that gives me 15y plus another y there. It gives me 16y. So y is going to be minus 1/3 or minus 5. Good. Okay, so now I can use this formula for x. X is 3 plus 2y. So if y is minus 1/3, then x is going to be 3 minus 2/3, which is 2 1/3. Or if y is minus 5, then x is going to be 3 plus 10, 13. So my two solutions are that x is 2 1/3 and y is minus 1/3, or x is 13 and y is minus 5. There we go. That's question 7 done. Question 8. Right, I'm going to use this second equation here to give me an expression for x, because I can see from there that x would be 1 minus 2y. And I'm going to substitute this expression for x into my top equation here. So instead of x squared, I can have 1 minus 2y multiplied by 1 minus 2y. Minus 9y minus an x. Now I'm going to put my x in a bracket because I need to be careful of my signs. So minus an x equals 2y squared minus 12. Right, let's expand this bracket on the left. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 2y, so I'm going to have minus 4y, and then minus 2y times minus 2y is plus 4y squared. Minus 9y. Now, minus outside the bracket can give me minus 1 plus 2y equals 2y squared minus 12. Tidy up the left-hand side, so I've got 4y squareds there. Okay, I've got minus 4y minus another 9y, that's minus 13y, plus 2y gives minus 11y. 1 minus 1, that disappears. Copy down the left-hand side. Right, so quadratic equation, let's set it equal to 0. Let's minus 2y squared from both sides, gives me 2y squared. 11y here, and let's plus 12 to both sides as well. Look at that. Now I either need to factorize this or use the formula. I'm going to try and factorize it. I can't find a common factor, but it's going to be a 2y and a y here, isn't it? Equals 0. Now I've got to multiply to 12. They're both going to be negative, aren't they? Because they multiply to a plus but add to a negative. I've got to multiply to 12. About 4 and 3. What about 4 here to give me minus 8y's, and then 3 here. Give me a minus 3y, gives me the minus 11y, so that works. So my solutions for y are going to be 3 over 2 or 4. Back to the formula for x. X was 1 minus 2y. Okay, so if y is 1.5, then x is going to be 1 minus twice 1.5, isn't it? Which is going to be 1 minus 3, which is minus 2. And if y is 4, then x is going to be 1 minus 8, which is minus 7. So my two solutions are x is minus 2 and y is 3 over 2, or x is minus 7 and y is 4. And that is question 8 done.
Right, well done. That is 8 really quite tough IGCSE questions on simultaneous equations under your belt. Well done. Keep an eye out on the channel. I'll be putting another film out very soon with some more questions along these lines, but this time where you need to find the points of intersection between curves and lines. If you found the film useful, please hit like. Do consider subscribing to the channel if you would like to see more of my content. See you in the next film.